Pats fans, no better way to head into your weekend than with a Giardi patty. That's right. Mike Giardi from the Boston Sports Journal joins your old
alcohol.
C. Stevens and Andy Jumbo Hart here on the latest Six Rings and Football Things, brought to you by our friends at WEEI Odyssey and 2400 Sports. Giardi, I think because you've been on the podcast so many times now, like you need your own sort of like little middle gap nickname. Like I'm Nick Fitzy Stevens, he's Andy Jumbo Hart. Are you like Mike Molto Giardi or?
No, usually the things that I get called are not fit for print.
Dumb
Mike,
puck.
Mike the mute button Giardi.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, let's start there. Why do people not like you?
Because I tell the truth and they don't like the truth.
You think that's it? Because I think you're one of the most likable people in Boston sports media. And I know people, oh, yeah, you love him forever. He smells great, all that. But, like, yet,
how did this become an olfactory issue? Like, Mike's a good-looking guy. I always compliment him on his sartorial choices because he dresses well, takes good care of himself.
But I like, you see you lumped in. Like, I can understand why people don't like me or Adam Jones or Felger or your boss Bedard. You don't have to touch that one, by the way. I truly don't get why the Twitter sphere like lumps you into the me's of the world.
It's a great question. And I'm not going to ask those idiots because they're idiots. But I would say that, like, if you, for instance, the 2 years running up to Brady leaving, right? Mm-hmm. I kept saying, I think he's leaving. No, you're an idiot. You're a moron. The Wickersham story is right. No, you're a moron. You're an idiot. Just recently, I think Belichick should go. I thought they should have done it. Like, I would have pulled the trigger in the middle of the season. That's how bad I thought it was. Like, and I don't think they're so protective of that group. I don't think that they want you saying that. Therefore, you become the troll, the idiot. You're looking for clicks and attention. And I just say, like, I say it all the time. Like, my job is just, I'm telling you what I know, what I hear, and what I see. And you're either going to like it, you're not going to like it. Some people, when they don't like it, they decide they don't like you. So that's that.
Yeah, Andy, to that point, like I think one of the better recent additions to the Boston sports media landscape is our pal Andrew Callahan at the Boston Herald. I think Andrew does a great job. He's well-spoken. He has good sources. My God, the hate storm that he gets from people just for opinionating and bringing factoids, nuggets, and perspective that he's able to unearth from his many good sources to the forefront has made him a wanted man. Like he's like John Wilkes Booth wanted in the crosshairs, referencing a TV show right now on Apple Plus TV that's probably less controversial than The Dynasty, in the eyes of many Pats fans. Look, all my job is for years has been to be a pom-pom waver, a Brady lover, and a Belichick apologist. The second that I said last season, Mike, it feels like maybe it's run its course, just because, as we know, all things must come to an end, Valar Morghulis, and also relationships fizzle out, and it feels like Kraft and Belichick is drawing to its close. And all of a sudden, you ran him out of town. You're the reason why he wanted to leave. Like I doubt a guy who wears his face on a T-shirt that says "Let's party" is the guy that ran him out of town. But
it is an interesting little, and I would say the other thing too, Andy, and I know you do this as well. There are times where I am bored and I'm going through my mentions and I see someone taking a shot and I throw it back at them, and I think, why would you? Yeah, you're a loser. Why would you? Because you wouldn't say it to me in person. Right. Like I can count on one hand the number of times that in 25 years that someone's come up to me and said you suck in person, right?
Right.
But online, boy, they love to flex their muscles when they have their picture of, Bill Belichick, Darth Hoodie, and their handle is Patriot, 25, 26,
right,
8, whatever it is.
Dynasty _7 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Alvarez 617, or that's
all right. That's just.
Hey, Robert, how are you out there, buddy?
I will say though, Mike. Speaking of Twitter stuff,
he's a little much.
He's a little much.
A lot of people can be a little much, but I will say that one of the
critical fraud in Twitter. And that's,
all right, we're going, Andy. Once again, we're going Pats positive here. We're turning the ship in the canal. Come on,
it's Mayday.
One of my favorite things, Mike, is whenever I gladly chum the waters of the Twitterverse with dad jokes, puns, and all of my rim stingers just when I get a reply back and it just says Fitzy. I mean, that's all I need. My job.
Yeah, you and Hart are you guys lead the league in me just hitting you with a Fitzy.
We have fun. We have fun. I mean, it is what it is. Hashtag take Drake. Mayday.
Exactly.
Mayday.
All right. So
Somewhat May.
Yeah. By the way, before we get into the fact that today is May Day and Big Bad Drake,
another hit,
the Matriot, Drake the Snake, all of your many nicknames
Matriot.
as we've
I'm a
gone through.
Maniac.
Could you please just only
How much
have
coffee have you had?
How many
C4 have you? You are bouncing.
Well, see, I had 2 cups, but I also had a C4 during the Rich Keefe show last night, so that may still be in my system carrying over from late last night, so there could be a little overlappage.
You haven't had a good sweat yet to get the guarana and everything else out of you. So
that's
you could
where I'll be going after this.
You could probably feel the niacin just on your surface right now, just itching through.
Damn right.
Okay,
so
I got you.
Out on you and Giardi and the Patriots and Ernie and Wolf and whoever else is in my crosshairs.
And here we are. Terrific. Wow. What a treat for all of us. Hey, Mike, before we get into the fact that Drake Maye is taking his top 30 visit today to the stadium as well, Daniel's scheduled to come in Monday, and the topic du jour that we've all been running through the wash for the last couple months. What did you think of the Stephon Diggs trade this week? Because I think for Buffalo, this helps showcase sort of a pivot in scheme and effort, and maybe probably taking a little bit off the shoulders of Josh Allen. Plus your boy, Khalil Shakir, who's growing up right before our eyes, now gets a chance to really shine. But I think for the Texans, this is such a smart move, and I am all in on them having AFC Championship aspirations this year.
Yeah, from the Texans' vantage point, Fitzy, I would say, look, I like the way that the deal is done. It's a 1-year deal, so he got to go out there and he's got to go do it. Pair him with Nico Collins. They brought back Dalton Schultz. They traded for Joe Mixon. Like, they have fully weaponized that offense with CJ Stroud. So to me, as a no-brainer to give up a future second-round pick for someone who might be able to push you over the top. For the Bills, I wrote about this for Boston Sports Journal in my notebook column that's out this morning. And I think there are multiple things that are at play here, but I think the biggest one at play is he wore out his welcome. The constant passive-aggressive social media posts, comments about the organization, and particularly about the quarterback is, Josh Allen runs that place. It's his world, and it should be his world. And while Stephon Diggs helped him take that next step, if you look at the back half of their season last year, when Joe Brady took over, Diggs was on pace for his greatest year ever. 70 catches, over 800 yards. I think it was 7 touchdowns. And then when Joe Brady showed up, I think it was 42 catches, 400 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, big time.
10 catches in the postseason, the big drop against KC, where then after it should have been a touchdown. He's like, oh, this close. Like, dude, this close hit you right in the hands. And I think he was always blaming someone else and not taking responsibility himself. And I think it was time to just say, you know what? We're going to take the $31 million dead cap hit to not continue this relationship anymore. And, to get a second, even though it's a next year's second, when you consider some of the trades this offseason, Keenan Allen for a 4th, go back to Amari Cooper a few years ago, and it was a 5th, like probably the best value they were going to get for him. So you know what? It was time. And he, again, 12 hours before the trade gets consummated, he was out there again doing his stupid thing on social media, responding to somebody with like 200 followers, like, oh, has Diggs helped Josh Allen? Yes, but is he essential? No. And his response was, are you sure? Like, what are we doing?
Style. Respond on Twitter.
Was he in line for Pizza Friday, Andy?
He might have been. You never know. Maybe pooping post coffee. There's various times when you have to utilize Twitter to entertain you. So, Mike, so my takeaway, if we're going to start here on the Diggs trade, is in relation to the Patriots. This Diggs trade is a perfect example of why you take the quarterback. And we're all throughout this debate season of fill out the roster, take the best player of it. Oh, you could get a great receiver, blah, blah, blah. It proved with one singular trade, if you have the quarterback, you can trade away your best receiver if it becomes necessary. If you have the quarterback, you can trade for kind of a dink receiver if you think it helps you because you believe you have the quarterback that can handle the situation in a guy like CJ Stroud, who has gone from not supposed to be the best quarterback in the draft to one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, if you believe sort of his first season. Am I over exaggerating? And then, by the way, I'd also trickle in, well, AJ Brown's available and Brandon Ayuk's available. And, the Bills are trying to do what the Vikings did when they traded away Diggs and then got better by drafting Justin Jefferson. Like, to me, this shows even more that it's about the quarterback, because the quarterback lets everything else happen.
Yeah, to me, this whole conversation that we've had all offseason, when you're sitting there at 3 and you're like, well, it's Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, like the quarterback is what everything runs through. And if you look at what you have to get through just in the AFC alone, it's Mahomes, it's Josh Allen. I know Justin Herbert hasn't had the success team-wise yet, but now that they have Harbaugh, I suspect that things will turn in their favor, if not this year, fairly soon. Joe Burrow, like on and on, Lamar Jackson, like you have to be a difference maker at the position. You're not going to win this based on defense and a game manager, a quarterback. That's just not the way it's going to work. Every team that made the playoffs this year had in the AFC had a first-round quarterback. Granted, Mason Rudolph ended up starting the playoff game, but Kenny Pickett was the starter for a good portion of the year before he got hurt. First-round pick. Like that's just the way it is. And so when people talk about, well, what if Marvin Harrison's going to be a Hall of Famer? Well, great. In 2 years, he's going to be pissed off because he has no one who gets him the ball consistently. Like, Joe Alt, it's great. Like, in fact, I've said it before, if I don't like the quarterbacks here and I'm going to trade back, I'm not trading back too far because I'm making sure that Joe Alt's my pick. And I have the left tackle that I think is the left tackle of the future for 10 years. So quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher, maybe corner, then wide receiver. And I love wide receivers, but I just think there's so many in this draft too. Like, just let's pace this thing properly and build your team properly. And I don't think taking a wide receiver at 3 makes any sense.
Yeah, I wish that, Bo Nix or Michael Penix were higher up the draft board or a more complete project.
What? Did you hear the
prospect.
latest? Michael Penix, according to former coworker Crap Sheet, Michael Penix not only going in the first round, going in the top half of the first round.
So I heard that yesterday, which is bananas. And I happen to be a bigger fan of him than I think most people are. I know the Patriots are not interested. It's not going to happen. And the guy who's currently taking his top 30 visit May Day while we're here recording the podcast is likely going to be the guy. In fact, yesterday, in terms of insiders and informed speculation, Mike, you probably heard that on his podcast, Adam Schefter all but basically said the Commanders are going to take Jaden Daniels at 2, parroting basically or echoing what Brian Kelly said after his pro day. So if the Patriots want Drake Maye, he's going to be right there. Tell me, what do you like most about him, and what would be heading into the Pats, drafting the Matriot, if you will? What would be your biggest fear for him, or what are you most fearful of?
So beside the obvious, height, weight, arm strength thing, I think one of the things that I love most about him, and I've gotten even a better feel for from talking to people that have been in the program with him, around him, is his competitiveness. And that goes to, being the runt of the litter at 6'4", but like the youngest kid of a family that's super competitive. His dad was the quarterback at UNC. His brother wins a national championship at UNC in basketball. Like he had to, during all those years, those formative years, he got his butt kicked by these guys, and he had to keep getting up and fighting his brother's back. And I love that competitiveness. I think it shows on tape at times. So to me, I think he's someone who can handle us. What happens when they struggle early? Like, I feel pretty confident that his nature is going to allow him to be able to say, all right, yeah, that didn't go great, but the next one will go better because I'll be prepared for it and I'll do it better. The obvious weakness is, and it's been brought up for months now, is he's the inconsistencies with his footwork that lead to inconsistencies with his accuracy. And he cleaned some of that up on his pro day, which I hate pro days, but like you could see some better footwork there. I think if I believe Alex Van Pelt is the right guy for the job, then I believe Alex Van Pelt is going to sit with Drake Maye from the moment he walks in the building, and they're going to clean that footwork up. And maybe it takes until week 6 before they feel fully comfortable with Drake Maye's footwork to say, okay, we're going to send you out there. Or, maybe they just go, he's the best guy we got. He's better than Jacoby. He showed you he's better than Jacoby. We're throwing him out there, and we're going to live with the ups and downs and try to teach him on the fly. That's the thing we see a lot of now. I think, especially as we've gotten into the new rookie contracts, from 2011 on, most of these guys don't sit; they play. Most of them, whether it's some not necessarily right away. Josh Allen sat the first 4 weeks, but then he started the final 12. Like, that's just sort of the way it is. You want to get him out there because people are trying to take advantage of the rookie contract.
And this is the Andy, and I'll pass the baton to you here. But I just wanted to say one thing, that none of us are probably like, I can't wait to see what Alex Van Pelt's offense looks like. But I do think in drafting a rookie quarterback, it'll be nice to have somebody who played the position, Andy, who's been around and coached a lot of quarterbacks, even though he was listed as an offensive coordinator. I think this is where Alex Van Pelt's experience will be a strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always pushed back on the idea that
I just jump in one. I'm going to jump in real quick, Andy, because it's your energy and the thing you're doing and the beard, and it's throwing me off. No, I when I was at the league meetings, I talked to someone from Cleveland and said, look, the Van Pelt, was he fired? Yeah, he was fired by the people above, not by Kevin Stefanski. And I just said, like, how do you feel about him and the quarterbacks? And they're like, if Alex Van Pelt tells me this is the guy that we should take, I'd listen to Alex Van Pelt. And that sort of hammers something home for me. Again, we don't know what kind of offensive coordinator he's going to be because he hasn't done it since 2009 as the guy that calls the plays every week. But that to me was pretty telling that someone I trust was like, oh, yeah, if he says it, I'd believe him.
And, this makes me think of a story that I found unbelievable. I'm a big Daniel Jeremiah fan. I don't know how you, as a former coworker, Giardi, feel about
DJ.
him.
Yep.
He told a story, I want to say 2 years ago or 3 years ago on his draft podcast, hearkening back to his days as a scout, when they would have discussions pre-draft about whether they could trust their position coach with the talent they'd be handing him and the inefficiencies in the player's game. And I found it eye-openingly honest. Like, I didn't envision a world where that guy's my quarterback's coach, but I don't trust him to develop the guy I'm going to hand him. To me, then it's not about the quarterback. It's about the quarterback's coach. You need to move on from him. And I'm just going to go in and believe that they believe that Alex Van Pelt can buff up the pearl or the diamond, like take whatever is rough and smooth it out, because that's his area of expertise. If you don't, then you probably should have done a 13th interview and found another guy that would be able to do that. But to jump off from Drake Maye, I love Drake Maye. Based on all the polls I've put out, Patriots fans like Drake Maye. I saw Phil Perry just put one out. It was Drake Maye, 70%, whatever. What do you believe will decide or has more impact on what the Patriots, a.k.a. Elliott Wolf, do at number 3? Is it who goes 2? Because there was the odds shift on some of the websites that Drake Maye is a little bit higher, blah, blah, blah. Or what is offered on the back end? Because I know your guy, Curran, who has been big on the trade down, now says it'll take more than 3 first-round picks for them to trade out of the spot. So is it who goes 2 and who's left on the board that's going to decide what they do at 3, or what a team is offering for them to get out of there? What is it hingent upon? It's a word I'm making up. Try to use it on TV sometime.
Well, look, I think if someone were to be completely foolish and offer 4 first-round picks, you probably wouldn't. That's right. Has it ever happened?
Has it ever happened?
I don't think so.
How much was the Herschel Walker trade? How much did Dallas reap in that one? Was that just 3 firsts?
That's a good question.
I don't think it was 4 firsts. There was a lot of picks.
Right, and the Ricky Williams draft was just they gave him the draft, right? It wasn't multiple first.
One.
Yeah, after that.
4 first-round picks. The old Adam Schefter, Jimmy Garoppolo trade?
Trey Lance was only 3, right? So, I don't think anyone's doing that. So you could probably disabuse yourself of that notion. And then to me, just as you kind of break down scenarios, obviously Minnesota has positioned themselves to move up. They want a quarterback. They acquired 23 from the Texans, so they have 11. They have 23. Kevin O'Connell at the league meetings was clearly trying to put the idea out that these 2 first-round picks should be enough, that we don't need to give a third-round pick because this draft is so good. Yeah, look, he's just positioning himself, but obviously you would assume that third that next year's first round pick would have to be included as well. And I'll be real, that hasn't done anything for me. That doesn't appeal to me at all, because I do believe that this quarterback draft is way better than next year's quarterback draft, even if someone emerges, as they often do. Jaden Daniels emerged this year. Maybe you could say J.J. McCarthy has emerged here late in the process, at least media-wise, although I think, as I mentioned right after the Senior Bowl, which he didn't participate in, he was the buzz at Senior Bowl, and people were like, don't be surprised if he goes 10 or inside the top 10 then. And
Wow.
people that, it sort of started to take fire there. I just believe there's too much talent at the top of this. And when you look at Drake's age, 21, when you look at McCarthy, he's 21 as well. Like, there is potential to grow with that player. Go back to the rookie contract. I know one of Curran's arguments has been like, well, then you're wasting, if it takes him 3 years to be good, you're wasting the rookie contract. I don't give a damn. And you shouldn't give a damn. If he's the right guy, you're going to have to pay him anyway. So, okay,
So
for
Green
2
Bay
years.
doesn't feel good right now? Green Bay not happy right now?
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, if the guy's the guy, you're going to pay the guy. So, did technically you not get enough out of the rookie contract? Yeah, but if you got the player that's going to be your quarterback for the next 10, 12 years, I don't give a damn whether he plays in year 1 or he doesn't play until year 3. If he turns out to be the guy, then bam, you hit a home run, right? So,
Yep.
I'm sticking and picking. I've been sticking and picking the entire time. And to me, I think they'd pick, well, I think the McCarthy stuff is real, guys. I think they really do like McCarthy. Whether they like McCarthy enough to take him at 3, I don't have that answer yet. But if Maye is there, I believe they pick Maye. And if it's Daniels, I tend to believe that they're picking Daniels, unless McCarthy has really cut the gap between the last time I was sort of given a sense of this and now.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted J.J. McCarthy more than Drake Maye, who are you going to trade with? I mean, are you going to trade with Minnesota? He'll be gone. Well, Drake Maye, yeah, he'll go to the Giants, or someone else will jump up. The Raiders will find a way to mortgage part of their future because they're interested in Jaden Daniels, and they could be interested in Maye. It's a very risky game. If he's the guy you like, then you just got to probably, like you said, stick and pick.
It's a great point too, because look at. I think when the process started, you're like, well, Arizona's not going to move because they want one of the receivers. Now you're feeling like maybe Monty would be willing to move out there if someone gave him 3 first-round picks to come up.
Yep.
LA has put the pick for sale. LA wants to trade the pick, even though they need a receiver desperately because they let their 2 best ones go. And Justin Herbert's probably like, you guys remember me? Can I get Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison? They want to stockpile picks. And the feeling I get from talking to people is, and you heard the Harbaugh quote from the league meetings, like, boy, it feels like he really wants an offensive lineman. Like, give me that guy. So
100%.
that pick's for sale. We know that Denver wants a quarterback. We know Vegas wants a quarterback. We know Minnesota wants a quarterback. If they all jump you move back to 6, you could still be out of the picture for that quarterback. So, like, again, stick and pick.
Yeah, no, you're going to have to. And I think if they do start Drake Maye this year, Andy, I think this is going to make you happy. I've been trying to think of, okay, so the Texans have nailed their last couple of drafts. They invested in their offensive line, and now they put themselves in a position to crush it in free agency, bring in Danielle Hunter, an upgrade over Grenard, who goes to Minnesota. They swapped defensive ends, basically. And now you add Steph Diggs. Okay, so they're ready to get after it on the rookie contract. If that is the template, and maybe Drake Maye steps in and looks good. Andy, I was thinking, next year is when you get T. Higgins. That's when you give Drake Maye, the established veteran receiver, looking to become a number 1 overall. He plays on the tag this year. Next year, you give him 5 years, $130 million, and he and Drake basically become Diggs and Allen.
Or Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle or whichever top 10 receiver is available that offseason. And you usually have like a handful to pick from, right? Like, I mean, we've seen that position is just fluid. Like, a guy is a mainstay number 1 QB's best friend and traded the next day and available. And the elite of the elite, the Devontae Adams, and the other thing is, I said this to Rich Keefe on the award-winning Rich Keefe show on WEEI. Is there an example of a team trading recently for a number 1 receiver and it failing? Like, they all do really well. Even I would say DJ Moore looked better in Chicago last year. Like, every time somebody trades for a receiver, it injects life into their offense. They seem to hit. They seem to, I don't know if it's the receivers and their mental makeup and they have talent and then you motivate them with a trade and money or whatever it is, but it works. So yes, get the quarterback. And that's what I was saying earlier. All the other opportunities kind of fall into place after that if you get the quarterback. But speaking of the quarterback, so you mentioned, and we all know, and I'll say it again, you're one of the best in the business because you're well tied in from across the NFL. And you mentioned, if Alex Van Pelt says take the guy, then take the damn guy. But the guy who's actually taking the guy is Elliott Wolf. What is your confidence level in Elliott Wolf to do the right thing? And what do you hear about sort of a league-wide perception of Elliott Wolf being ready to make this decision, which will probably decide his career and the next 5 to 10 years for the New England Patriots?
League-wide perception of Elliott is high. I think a lot of people like the fact he's paid his dues. He's done every job to work his way up to the top of this process. Obviously, his dad being able to learn from his father as a Hall of Fame general manager certainly helps. But he's been in different systems with different people and has been able to pick up their things that work for them, things that don't work for them. I think he's learned a lot. So I guess league-wide, the feeling is good. Me personally, I'll tend to tilt with the people that I trust that believe in him, but we have no proof of any of it.
Like, yeah, but you got to do it the first time sometime.
Sure, but like I'll give you like my boss, Bedard, Greg, he talks about him, and it's like he already has cemented him in as someone who's going to make the right decisions. And I say, we don't know that yet.
Right.
He hasn't had to make the right decisions. The coaching hire wasn't his hire. That was Robert Kraft's hire. That deal was done before Elliott Wolf was put in charge to be the director of scouting still. Like there's that part of it. And then when you look at free agency, okay, should we feel heartened that they realized they needed a wide receiver and they put money on the table for Ridley? Or should we say all it was money and you should have just thrown another 10 million at him to try to make sure you could get the deal done? I look for stake. I don't think he was going to come here, but like they didn't extend themselves over at that point. So I don't know. Like I don't know. Well, this is a massive draft for him. This is a massive year for him because I do believe he's going to be the GM. I know they have to interview people per the Rooney Rule, but I believe Alonzo Highsmith didn't come up from the University of Miami to be here for 3 months and then get ready to leave because they hire a new GM. So
right.
It's a massive year, and this is a massive draft. You cannot oversell how important this draft is in getting at least a couple blue chippers at the top of this draft. So, whether for certainly a quarterback, but whether it's tackle, receiver, whatever, they need more high-end talent, and that's Elliott's job. Make sure they find more high-end talent.
It's Belichickian. That's the comparison I did in the column earlier this week. Like, I don't know that in Bill We Trust existed in 2001, Bill's first real draft in New England. And it was a very similar spot, last place, 5-11, top 10 pick, number 6. And oh, by the way, he didn't need a quarterback, or he didn't know he needed a quarterback. So a little different, but he went out and drafted a Hall of Fame defensive lineman and a team Hall of Fame offensive lineman with his first 2 picks. Elliott, the ball is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, I always try to remind myself this time of year, and I understand and appreciate that we all have significant.
Change the batteries in the smoke alarm.
Yeah, actually, while we were recording, I just felt an earthquake, which was pretty surreal, and that was not the energy. A 4.8 earthquake just rattled New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, and even parts of Massachusetts. So
it's all ending.
I was gonna. That's it. It's all. We don't even get to see Drake May go to the Patriots.
Imagine if we died mid-podcast in an earthquake.
What a terrible.
Recording.
Someone's just going to find this recording later on. Yeah. What a terrible.
Well, Andy, I think it would be. We didn't have the earthquake. It's just be Fitzy, so we just have to. Do we just continue?
Yeah. Yeah. It was fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just keep going.
If the house collapses on Fitzy, do we just keep going?
Virtually poke him to see if he's.
Andy will figure out how to wrap things up and hopefully not swear. But we all have massive mock draft fatigue at this point, and I always try to remind myself this time of year: don't fall in love with any players, don't develop any draft crushes, because the Patriots probably won't take that player, even though we now have a different regime. So I've got my eye on a couple of guys I think would be great fits or would be super fun to watch and root for over the next couple of years. Do you have anyone on a my guy list yourself?
Yeah, I definitely do, and I fell in love with him last year 2 years ago. This year he was hurt a little bit at Georgia. Then I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I was like, oh, give me Lad McConkey. Just give me Lad McConkey. Now, look, McConkey is I know. He's an interesting guy, though, because he still projects more as a slot in the NFL, even though he played 70% outside the numbers at Georgia this past year to kind of show that position versatility. And when you look at this team, where do they have sort of surplus at wide receiver? Now, I don't know that it's necessarily high-end surplus, but that's where their position sort of – they have 3 or 4 guys that can play the slot, that will play the slot. So I wonder if Lad McConkey just isn't a fit because of just the sheer number of bodies they have there. Right. I also feel the same about Roman Wilson, like not on the same level with the receiver from Michigan. And he too can play outside some, but generally probably going to be best used in the slot. Like if that offense threw the ball more, JJ McCarthy, if they hit Harbaugh, I think we'd be talking more about Roman Wilson possibly being a back end of the first round pick as well. I'm trying to think of who else do I really like. I like Jalen Polk from Washington, another receiver. I've watched so much of the Washington offense because of the receivers. It's not just Odunze, it's not just Polk, but it's Jalen McMillan, who plays, he's kind of a bigger slot for them. Also would be a good fit here, by the way. But again, more slot than outside guy. And it's hard not to watch Polk, who plays outside, and just see he's a guy who goes and gets the ball. Like good hands, attacks it at the catch point. He's not running a 4.4, so maybe that speed becomes a problem. Maybe he's more. I think he's a 4.52. But if you watch him on tape, I feel like he plays faster than that. Also, just as an aside, that offense is so creative, and that offensive coordinator is now the OC for Seattle. So I'm kind of interested to see how much he takes from what he did at Washington and how that sort of plays into it. Because there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, everybody's trying to find the next thing. He found some next things, I thought, at Washington. That might translate to the pros. Who else do I like? I like Elijah Jones, the BC cornerback. Like if you look at a bunch of different, ratings, like he's way down the board on a lot of people. And to me, he's one of the 5 best corners in the draft. And corner is kind of a sneaky need for this football team. I wouldn't do it with the first 3 picks, but if he's sitting there at 103, that might be the perfect place to grab him.
Right around where he'll be, yeah.
Yeah, Cole Bishop, the safety from Utah. He and Jaden Hicks are 1 and 2 for me as the safeties, and they're a little bit different flavors. Hicks is a little bit more closer to the line of scrimmage guy. Not that he can't play back. Bishop plays back and also did a really nice job covering tight ends. And look, I still think they need a more pure free safety, and I think Cole Bishop could fit that mold. Doesn't look like that's the route they're going to go, but I think he's a very good player, and he makes a lot of sense.
You just sort of touched on it, but I want to kind of hone in on it. I have sort of this order of operations idea of quarterback, probably tackle if you stay at 34, and then wide receiver later. And you also use the word that Mike Cadlick and I used over on the Six Rings Prospect Pod quite a bit for the cornerback position, sneaky need for this team. I'd actually put it in a way, it's similar to wide receiver. The difference is obviously Gonzalez. You're hoping you have a number 1, but at wide receiver, you have bodies you can put out there. At cornerback, you have bodies you can put out there, but I'd like to have good bodies I feel really good about. So do you have this idea of this, then this, then this, if the board falls that way? Are you aggressive? A guy you didn't mention, I was waiting, and my sort of binky that I've fallen in love with after Drake Maye, A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, I think is going to be I'm hesitant to say this because everybody will make fun of me later when I'm wrong, and Marvin Harrison exists. And I think A.D. Mitchell might be the best receiver to come out of this draft. And if I can get him in the mid-20s, I would trade up to get him.
Yeah, you're gonna have to because Buffalo wants him, I bet, Andy.
That's the porking of that trade. It porks us.
I am gonging that idea. He takes so many plays off. Holy crap, dude.
So does Randy Moss. That's what the great ones do.
Oh, brother.
I like guys that are, who used to do that too as a pass rusher? Julius Peppers. I like guys that are so good they take plays off. Means they're so good.
Means that anytime he thought he wasn't getting the ball, he just half-assed it. So
I'll throw it to him every play then. I'll have the AD ratio.
I'm actually not a big fan of either one of the Texas receivers.
Worthy is going to end up being Worthy's going to be Taekwon 2.0.
He's not Worthy.
He's boo, Andy, boo. Look, he gets down to 165, so he can break the combine record, right? And then you see him a week later, and now he's weighing at 169. He's probably going to try to be 175-ish to convince people that he's that size. And the moment the season starts, he's going to sink right back down into the 160s. Texas used him to do a variety of things. They weren't afraid to throw him the ball over the middle. I would suggest, however, if you throw him the ball over the middle too often in this league at 165 pounds, he is not making it through an entire season. Like, can you imagine? Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, all right, so he's not going to you're not going to have him out there on certain running plays, like whatever. You're not going to do that to him. But let's just say he plays 30 plays a game, 30 plays, 17 games. Like, no, there's no way. Unless you're having him running go routes, that's all he's doing, then no. And I have a hard time like wrapping my head around that idea of him being a consistent, hey, if he went to Miami as the third receiver there and they used him for 15, 18 snaps, the way they create space, yep. Maybe he balls out with he won't get the attention because of the other two guys. Like there are certain places where he would work. Not here. Yeah. So before I went on that rant, to your original point, Andy. So I did my first mock draft on Monday. I'll do my second one this coming Monday, which I think I'm going to do ones with trades this time. Ooh. But the first one I did no trades. And when you start looking, and the way I viewed it was, okay, what have they done in free agency? Mm-hmm. So what, but I'm talking about for everybody too. So when I'm doing the draft, I made every pick through the first 34. And I'm like, what are they doing free agency? What are the contract situations for next year as well? Do you start, some teams always, the Bengals in the last few years have been really sharp about drafting a year ahead. They drafted Miles Murphy this past year as an edge guy because, well, maybe Trey Hendrickson's going to be at the end, or maybe Sam Hubbard, we won't want to pay him, and those sorts of things. Dax Hill a couple of years prior at safety, and then both their safeties left via free agency. So like that's been sort of their MO, and some other teams do that as well. So that's sort of how I tried to view the process. Like, what are their needs? But it's not just like right here in black and white, but like how a year or two from now are they looking at something, and can they afford to do that? Certain teams obviously can. They have a bit of a better talent base. And so when I went through the process the first time, to me, the gap between the first tier of tackles, the second tier of tackles, and the third tier of tackles is significantly wider than it is for the first tier of receivers to the second tier of receivers to the third, even to the fourth. So I had them taking a tackle at 34 because I think I think that's right on the line, like where that might be the last one until you get to the next tier, which would be, Paul from Houston, who's a massive human being, but his footwork needs to be cleaned up. He's just not polished yet. Rosengarten, the kid from Washington, who again, if you look at some draft boards, they don't have him until day 3. I think I've had people tell me he's a top 75 pick, and I'm going to trust that. I think he is. The kid from Yale, who I believe, did he have his pro day? He might even have it today or yesterday. He was injured last year, 2 points, and then didn't get to work out on the combine stuff. But he's someone that a lot of people think, developmentally could be a left tackle for a bunch of years in the league. But that's like that next tier. And I think that first tier, I think the drop off is too great. Like I can pluck a guy from the first tier and feel like he's going to play for me this year. Maybe not at snap 1, but at some point be the guy. And then when I turn the keys over to him, he's going to be in there for a long time. Whereas at receiver, because of again, it's sort of different flavors. Do you like this group? Do you like that group? And I think there's people that are going to get picked in the 5th round in the NFL draft this year at receiver that are probably going to end up having better production than some of the guys picked in the first 2 rounds because they found the right place. So I think you can do that. And that's why I would wait on wide receiver. And then lastly, I would be aggressive though. Like if I know Field Yates had Xavier Legette at 34. I think that's a little rich for Legette, but let's just say Legette's more like but let's just say he's more in I find him to be more in like the late 40s, early 50s. And I'm at 68. Maybe I take 68 and 103 and I say, can I get up to 50 with Philly and make sure I get the guy I want at the position instead of sort of waiting, well, you know what, we'll just sit at 68 and then maybe we'll take Devontae Walker or maybe we'll take whatever. No, I think if you find a guy in that range, like to me, this isn't about the volume of picks for them. This is about the guys they grab in the first 3 rounds, because those are the guys that I think we expect should have some sort of impact on the season and should have a great impact in a quarterback or whatever. And that to me is where, if I'm Elliott Wolf, I'm being aggressive, saying, nope, Drake Maye is my guy at 3. I want the kid from BYU a tackle at 34. And if I have to go up to 29 to get him because I think the run's happening, then I go up to 29 and get him. And if I think, again, in this example, Xavier Leggette's my guy and I got to go to 50 to get him, then I go to 50 to get him.
Yeah, I loved our pal Mike Dussault from Patriots.com put out a mock earlier this week, and he had Drake Maye at 3, had the Patriots trading up a little bit, mortgaging pick 103 to move up a couple spots from 34 to like 26 and take Guyton, the Brohemoth from Oklahoma, I believe.
Yep.
And then at receiver at 68, they went for a guy that I've been crushing on for a while, Javon Baker from University of Central Florida. Like, if you get those 3 guys immediately, we've how long have we been banging the drum, Andy? Got to get a quarterback, got to get a tackle, got to get a receiver. We said it last year, it didn't happen, but most especially tackle, receiver. Now you have a chance, and there's still some good developmental prospects like that kid, Sinnott, the tight end out of Kansas or something.
Kansas State,
Fullback tight end hybrid. I like it.
Yeah, and my guy, is it Laub or Lauber, the running back?
Oh, the UNH kid, yep.
Oh, God,
I don't like him as much.
I'm a fan, but there are guys you can get that you can.
The heyday Patriots, your day, heyday.
He totally would have been.
You throw him out there with Brady and Gronk and Edelman, and that dude would be a star. You throw him out there with this team, and he gets eaten.
But like you said, Mike, there's a ton, and the tackle has to be a priority. The tackle, you cannot just go in saying a core 4 is going to get it done.
It's the biggest need. The left tackle spot is one of the few spots on the team right now. The old Belichickian looks like we don't have to play a game to September. That's good, because you don't have a left tackle. You do not have a body to put at that position. And that's why when you were talking about tackles, and this would be dangerous, this could be a risk reward thing, but like game ready versus upside at that, whether you're picking 28 or 34 or in there somewhere and you're looking at a tackle, do I take the better talent, or do I take the guy that I really think sooner rather than later I can put on an NFL field and he won't turn into a puddle of goo over there? And because I think they need one. Otherwise, I don't really know. I mean, do you have who's playing left tackle if they had to play a game today?
A core 4.
A core 4 or Onwenu.
So 2 right tackles, including one right tackle that they didn't even want to play right tackle.
That he didn't want to play right tackle. Yeah. I don't rule that out. I mean, look, and I had said it and reported it, and he wanted to play guard. So I don't know how they convinced him that tackle was, we want you to play tackle, come back and play tackle for us. Maybe he thought that's where I'm going to get the most money. I don't know. And I guess to a certain degree, the way that Cleveland ran their offense, if you look at their right tackle in particular, like, he sort of fits that mold more so than he did playing tackle for the old system under Bill O'Brien. But yeah, I don't rule it out. I think has become and I think he now understands, he's become like you're better than anybody else we have up here aside from David Andrews, who's not moving. So if we got to move you from right to left, we're going to move you from right to left. And if we had to kick you back inside because all of a sudden our left guard just can't play, then and we have someone to tackle that we feel like can do a decent job, then you're going to move back into left guard. We're paying you really well. Just suck it up and do it.
Isn't that how the offensive line fell apart the last couple of years with Isaiah Wynn and Trent Brown and not being where they want to be or where they feel like they're being paid to be or whatever the hell the various dynamics
or also that they both were the lazy sacks of you-know-what.
Ew, wow. They're just,
hey, you know what? Clip that for the promo on Twitter.
Yeah.
But you know what else I like?
Can you tag Isaiah and Trent with that too? You know, like
be in his bonnet.
I was going to say, watch out. Last time we had Mike Lombardi on, he went after Asante Samuel, and the quote tweets that we got from Asante and other defenders of Asante were legendary, Mike. So I'm all for it. And if anything else, as we wrap all this draft talk, which you've been more than generous to share today, Mike, I will say it's nice to know that we're like, I know this isn't going to win football games, Andy, but at least like they're steering the ship towards guys that want to be there, guys that want to compete, guys that don't feel like they were broken by Belichick and have now turned into Jacksonville rappers, guys who
Shot at Mac Jones.
Shout out.
The cheap grub who didn't want to pay for his country club membership.
Yeah, Ms. Corkle or whatever he's going to go by.
What a dink.
It's so
Boy, did
crazy.
I nail the hell out of that one as his rookie year when I told you he was an unlikable dink that I wanted no part of.
Don't tear a labrum patting yourself on the back, all right? But anyway, like at least now everyone, like they're in positions they want to be. They feel like they're getting paid appropriately, or at least most of them do. And there's just going to be like a concerted effort of good guys. Now that and a lot of good fortune will probably still only get you 5 or 6 wins this year. But
did you say 6?
Tops. Yeah, well, it's 5.5, so that's why I went 5 to 6 right now.
Did somebody's bus not make it to the stadium? Did they get a forfeit win in there somewhere?
Mike, are you taking the over or the under?
I mean, right now I got to take the under. But we'll see how the draft looks. Then we'll see what it looks. We'll see what it looks.
Wire claims after the draft they're higher than they've ever been, so they're going to be really good.
Yeah, that was another of the number of regrettable statements that came out of the league meetings. That was one of them that didn't get a lot of attention that probably should have. I'm like, wait, you guys know that everybody manages the cap now. Like the days of the post June 1st cut, surprising. Like, oh my God, they just released. Their receiver 1. Nah, it doesn't happen that way anymore. Doesn't.
And if the guy's that good, won't either the Bears or the or actually the Panthers or the Commanders claim him if he's that good?
One would think.
One would think indeed. On the subject, or rather on the heels of that quick question thrown at you, Mike, it's time to now introduce a new segment here as we wrap up this edition of Six Rings and Football Things. Andy's idea, I like it. I think this is going to be a good time for everyone.
Andy had a good idea.
I'm an idea man.
He's got every now and again
execution that often doesn't happen.
See, just when I try to set him up for success, he has to be I'm catching strays and grenades from him all the time, but that's fine. We rise above, Michael. The cream rises above. Andy's idea for a segment here, which I like. I think it's going to be fun. It's called Blitz Pickup, if you will, just like the Furious 5 or the 5 silly questions they used to do on the Daily Show. We're just going to lob a bunch of silly football and non-football related questions your way until we wrap it up. Andy,
quick answers. Answers. We're not looking for the freaking, Bible.
All right.
Wow. Shit, all of a sudden you got bossy. So what if I gave you a Bible answer? What are you going to do then?
You mean like literally or figuratively? A long answer, or are you going to relate it to the Bible?
You don't know.
You never know. Could be he could be chapter and verse of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
You never know.
First question: you a Bible guy?
No.
Okay,
you don't believe in the Bible, or you just aren't like?
All right, easy.
Easy. I mean, how many other people you want up in his mentions now? Jeez.
For God's sake, man.
Mike Giardi. Okay, Mike Giardi. What the hell's going on at the NFL Network?
They're getting ready to sell that thing.
Oh.
And they're stripping it bare, and it is sad because the place that I joined 6 years ago was incredible. The best place I'd ever worked at, best bosses I ever had, and it has been reduced to a shell of its former self, which is very sad. There's a lot of talented people that not only on camera who were on camera, but behind the scenes that are getting lopped off. It's tough, very tough.
Okay, let's go in a more upbeat direction because
it's depressing.
We don't believe in the Bible, and we're talking about people losing jobs and things of that nature. So let's go. Mike Giardi's favorite wrestler of all time as we come up on WrestleMania weekend and The Rock injecting sort of life into wrestling again.
Randy Macho Man Savage.
Oh, yeah.
I could do the imitation all day long. I hit my brother with the double axe handle and the flying elbow drop while he was on the couch from the landing a number of times. That was my guy.
The Macho Man, Randy Savage. I got to tell you, one of the highlights of my young, chubby life growing up in Braintree was going to the Garden in February of 1986, Mike. I was at the match where Macho Man hit Tito Santana with the foreign object and stole the Intercontinental Championship. Seminal moment of my youthful development as a Boston sports fan. Okay.
Also, by the way, as an aside, the Missing Link was my second favorite guy. You have to look him up. He used his headbutt people.
Oh my God, it was great. Painted his face, had the whole
never heard
the long ponytail.
Yeah.
How about Iron Mike Sharp, the jobber who was brought in for every single match if someone else didn't?
Yes.
And he had that thing on his arm. Okay, Mike Giardi, 10 months out. Who's your pick for the Super Bowl?
San Francisco and Baltimore.
Okay. I got Green Bay versus
Ooh,
Houston.
That's a good one. That's a good
Green
one.
Bay,
Are we all
Packers,
doing it, I
Texans.
guess?
Packers, Texans. Yeah. What's yours, Andy?
The Drake May-led Patriots
Okay.
against
cut his feet.
the 40.
49ers, Pats. Finally, the matchup everyone has demanded and needs.
His internet froze on my screen right now, which is perfect.
It froze on mine as well. Oh, you're back. Okay, good.
Oh,
Next
damn
question.
it. I was going to take a picture of it.
I would
Next
say
question.
Chiefs 49ers. Yeah, I'll go with the 49ers. I like
Okay,
their talent.
rematch. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Mike
You're
Giardi.
go on a limb there.
So on Monday, a much hyped solar eclipse is coming. Will you be out in your yard at 2:30 in the afternoon watching it? Are you interested? Thoughts on the solar eclipse?
I don't give two poops about the solar eclipse.
What?
Could care less.
What? It's
Stay
a
in
once
your
in a life. It
basement?
could be a potentially
The
once in a
podcast
lifetime.
In the basement. People called me from Dallas. That's why I couldn't talk to you guys earlier in the week.
That does not how my voice sounds.
Okay, another
And-
question then.
Okay. And you got to buy like the special glasses. Like I'm not buying special glasses. You can't look at it if you're going to burn your retina out without the glasses. So what the hell am I going to do that for?
Does it really burn
Yeah,
your
that's what they
retina?
say.
Yes,
That's
it
what they
does. No,
say.
Andy, if you stare at it long enough, you will cook your eyes.
I just
Now
want a
you'll-
quick look. I'm going to quick peek. Just like look real quick and then look away. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And then during the football season, we're going to be sitting up on the hill during training camp, and he's going to have a
You're like,
patch over his left eye. Yeah, I can't.
It'll be sad if Drake May comes and then I can't
right.
actually watch. Drake
Rapid
May.
fire. Let's go. Come on, Hart.
Yeah, he's slowing me down.
And
He froze again.
Okay. All right. I'll ask one. Mike, how often do you work out, and how often do you do biceps?
What's going on?
I work out 6 times a week, and I never do biceps.
Wow. And you got guns like that you show off when you're interviewing Mr. Kraft? Good on you, buddy.
The coffee picture. What was that? I don't even know what I was doing.
You had it like you were
or
extending like a recording device, but it was perfect because you just had like a slightly
Slight
flexed
crook.
bicep, and I was like, look at Mike.
Well, you know what's funny about this is and Andy can attest to this because I've told him this number of times. My right elbow is shot. It's been shot for a year now, and no one can figure out what's wrong with it. I could get an MRI on it, and I think they're going to tell me I need Tommy John surgery, which at the age of 52, I'm not going to do. So that's that.
Oh,
And we lost Andy again.
And Andy's internet went out entirely, which is too bad because our tech support isn't actually here right now to help out. So I'm gonna have to finish up, ask questions in his place, and wrap the pod.
It'll be better now anyway.
Oh, okay. He's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
All right. Mike Giardi, you go out to dinner. You can order anything you want. What is that Mike Giardi fancy supper on the town choice?
Without fear of being like messy, I like a linguine and clam sauce.
Ooh,
Good linguine and clam sauce. Very, very good. Very, very good.
that is on brand. So not like I'm not a chicken parm.
Nah.
Are you a steak guy?
I mean, I like a good steak. Yeah, for sure. But I don't. Yeah, like I make a good steak at home. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, so do I. I feel like, I don't need to pay $17 for scalloped potatoes or cream spinach on the side. Steakhouse prices are a little much for me, and I think I do a damn good job at home too. All right, 2 more. Your AFC East champion will be?
Champion will be the Jets.
Cosign. It's this year it happens.
If Rodgers plays in the full 17, even if I'm sure that the tackles will both get hurt because they're both old and injury prone at some point, I think Miami's coming down a little bit. I think the Bills are coming down a little bit, and you're still down. So there you go.
I agree with you 100%. And they stole Hassan Reddick from the Eagles. I don't understand that one at all because they needed more pass rush.
Andy's in the private chat, by the way, saying, "Let me in."
I can't. The problem is I'm not in control. Our moderator is currently covering the Celtics game. So
No.
I'm sorry, buddy. Okay, the last 2. Mike Giardi, you can travel anywhere in the world that you want to as a bucket list destination. Where would that be?
I would actually go back to Monterosa in Italy.
No kidding.
Yeah, unbelievable place. Did the 2-week, Europe thing with the fam the year before COVID, and we ended. I said that my only thought was you got to end on the beach. We ended on a beach, and I want to end on a beach. That beach was damn good.
And as we approach Brady Day, 6/12/24, not sure if you've heard about it. If you've secured your tickets yet, your favorite Tom Brady story?
That's a tough one. Can I just say for the best game I ever saw was the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. It was two heavyweights throwing haymakers. I've said this a million times. The way he played in the second half was, to me, the absolute best a quarterback could play, especially considering, what was at stake. And he dialed in and went to a place that, maybe a couple years earlier we weren't sure he could get back to again. And then, of course, he did it repeatedly after that. But in that moment, that was pretty awesome. I'll also give you the time that I took my kids to a training camp practice, and he smiled at them from like 40 yards away, and they both kind of were like, "He's smiling at us."
Wow.
They were little. They thought it was cool. So I think
it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to us.
Yeah, yeah, right.
God, he's the only person here handsomer than you. That's difficult. 12 for 14, $143, and 2 touchdowns, I believe, in the fourth quarter against the Seahawks. That's the best best single quarter I've ever seen a quarterback play in my life.
Yep,
he was
absolutely
the will to win. Just still gives me the gridiron goosebumps to this day. I could ask you 25 other random questions, but we are almost approaching the hour mark. Oh, Andy wants to know: would you prefer Brady or Garoppolo? I mean,
Garoppolo, come on.
Yeah, of course. Come on, come on, Andy.
He's out of control right now.
He's just
Biden lost his mind. You want to die on a beach?
Right.
I feel sad. Poor Andy.
Perillo or Hart? Oh, that's a no-brainer. All right. Sorry about that, Andy. It was the earthquake. I would blame the shift of our tectonic plates on the technology drop-off for you in the South Coast, my friend. Mike, can't thank you enough for the time today. Great draft talk, great football talk, great Drake Maye talk. Appreciate all your analysis and insight. You can read Mike at thebostonsportsjournal.com. Give him a follow at Mike Giardi as well. You can hear him on occasion on the radio. And, of course, we never can have enough of him here on Six Rings and Football Things. And hopefully we'll be able to have you here more often on Fitzy and Hart and on our programming this fall. Mike, have a great weekend. The beer box is on. I've got some really good ones for you in this one.
Nice.
Really, really nice, crisp springtime sippers. So look out for that next week. And you guys look out for more from Six Rings and Football Things with Cadlick, with Fitzy, with Hart, and our random troop of friends, Foxborough specialists and football people. We are T-minus 3 weeks from the draft, everybody. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy the Final Four. Hooray, Red Sox. And as always, good day, God bless, and go Pats.